The next 12 months at Peninsula Energy will take the company closer to production at Lance, a very exciting time for this uranium developer in the USA. Let's talk to the Executive Chairman, Gus Simpson. Welcome, Gus.
Hi, nice to be here.
What are your views on the outlook for the uranium market post the Fukushima incident in Japan?
Look, in a nutshell, I think that the Fukushima incident, as unfortunate as it was, isn't going to have a huge impact on nuclear power and the demand for baseload electricity. As far as the uranium business is concerned, it's probably going to hit supply more than it's going to hit demand. You know, you've got 400 odd nuclear power stations around the world. They're not going to go. I think there's about 140 nuclear powered ships, submarines, icebreakers, aircraft carriers and so on out there as well. The reality is demand isn't going to be hit very hard at all, but I think supply, where there is a risk quotient that may have been on the edge of a banker's view, those things will have trouble. And I think you're going to see some of the big capital investment type projects will struggle.
So do you think that this will have an impact on the Peninsula's Lance project in Wyoming?
I think at the end of the day, it's an ill wind that blows no good. The reality is that for a low cap, high margin business like ours, it's going to see stronger prices, and it's going to make it somewhat easier for us, strangely.
Okay, well that works in your favour then, doesn't it?
It does.
Can you give us a status update on your Lance projects?
Yeah, I can. Look, we are in two important phases. We obviously just finished a DFS and an expanded economic study. We're going through an owner's review at the moment. That's progressing extremely well. We'll have that concluded sometime in February. And we will take the results of that to a board meeting at the end of March, where we'll also take a new resource calculation. You probably saw today we published some very good drilling results, and the reality is we've been doing that for the last 9 months, but the market as it was, people hadn't noticed before. And we will, I suppose the critical point is that decision to mine, which will be based on the owner's review of the feasibility studies and of the upgraded resource that we'll publish at that point as well.
What is the uranium price required for Lance to be economic?
Look, it works at the current price. The current long-term price escalated, in fact, has a NPV over 200 million, and it has a net cash return to us annually of 76 million. So current prices are good, and it's a point I've been making for several years. Everyone wants to see higher prices, but the reality is this project will go on the current pricing.
What is the progress on the grant and timing of the key remaining permits for the projects?
Look, it's difficult to go. We haven't. My understanding is our permit to mine is only waiting on us to put our bonds in place, and we'll put our environmental bonds in place once the board's made a decision to go to mining. So that'll be early April, and then we're only waiting on the source material licence. The difficult ones are the deep disposal well, and we got that in record time. Last year, I think it was about 9 months it took us to take us from application or lodging application to being granted. And it's hard to put a time on these things, but we're doing everything we can to ensure that it's as quickly as possible, and I believe the regulators are doing the same. Nobody's ever been refused a licence in Wyoming for uranium mining, and and as you know, it's a sort of centre of energy, I suppose, for the world, in the sense that it produces 500 million tonnes of coal a year alongside oil, gas and uranium.
So I'm sure you're looking forward to those permits coming through as quickly as possible, aren't you?
We want the permits as quickly as we can, but there are several other steps first. We've got to obviously the board to agree that that's where we want to go at this particular point in time, and that's a board decision, not mine. Secondly, we need to obviously get all our permitting in place, but we also need to put the funding in place. And we're working towards that with the various groups in both North America and Europe.
Okay. What project funding do you think would be required for the development of the in situ project?
Okay. Yeah. For Wyoming, stage 1 and 2, which will take us to about £1.5 million a year, requires about 90 to 100 million, and then to take us through to £2.2 million a year, it's about 140, 150 million. So from a capital development point of view, it's not a huge amount, and obviously we're looking to do as big a part of that with debt as we possibly can.
Can you provide any detail on where you are at with negotiations on long-term sales agreements for uranium oxide from Lance?
Sure. Well, we concluded our first agreement with the US utility last year, and that's in the current climate a very good agreement, and they're a very large group. We are in discussions with several other large groups, both in not just in Europe and the United States now, but we've had several approaches recently from Asia, and strangely as it may seem, very recently from Japan. I hosted a Japanese group here last night, or yesterday, and for dinner last night, and they actually flew on this morning to go and do a site visit in Wyoming, having recently done one in South Africa. So possibly everything you see in the media is not 100% accurate.
Not as what it seems sometimes.
Not as what it seems sometimes. That's the nice way to put it.
What are the key milestones for investors to look for with Peninsula Energy in 2012?
Well, I think that the upgrading of the resource, moving its status of the inferred component to indicated, taking the decision to go to mining, obviously, and the updated feasibility work will all be critical in delivering the funding going forward. And I think those alongside the decision to mine and early construction by us are probably the key indicators of where it's all going.
So looking forward, do you think production is possible in late 2012, early 2013?
Yes, it is, if we can get our permitting in place.
Thank you for your time, Gus.
Thank you for yours, Olivia. Nice to be here.
That was Gus Simpson, Executive Chairman at Peninsula Energy.